Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. It's a good game. And we did badly at it last time, but we still won. Pretty easily. It's just one of those times where, like, thankfully... Oh, the Maw of the Void and Forget Me Now. And this is an XL floor, because we have a 100% deal with the Devil Champ. I mean, this is a great start. This is a great start. Yesterday was one of those beautiful runs where bad play met a pretty easy run. That doesn't always happen. Now, the logician in me says that sometimes it happens. So I can't release, you know what? That's how you handle this room. What I was gonna say is I can't release the button, because it will hit all of the barrels, and, or, you know, I don't know, I guess they are barrels, and blow me up, but thankfully the chariot card kind of protected us from a fate of some disreputability there. And dude, we got, like, great consumable action for this shop. You know we're gonna use Forget Me Now on this floor. Probably. It depends. Like, the only situation in which we wouldn't use Forget Me Now, and even then we'd have to think about it, is what if you find yourself in a situation where you get an amazing spacebar item like Book of, or the Satanic Bible or Book of Revelations. If you get one of those, you don't want to use Forget Me Now because then you can't take the other item with you. What a dodge. Matrix dodge. But this is, I mean, this is a seed for the century. Did I show you the seed? There you go, there's your seed. It's a very, very good one. How am I doing? Dude, I'm on cloud 9. For the Golden Goblet this week, we're playing Clubhouse games. I have never been more in my wheelhouse than to be playing Clubhouse games for the Golden Goblet. This is... I've gone through many different phases over the years. As far as streaming goes, we're reaching my final form. Accomplished casual game streamer. And I'm making it look darn good. I'm not afraid to say it. But anyway, you'll be watching those videos, or you'll have watched those videos already. And I hope you enjoyed them. I know I did. Oh, babe, I mean the chess one. Oh. Anyway, it's been a good afternoon. Let's put it that way. I mean, this is like... This is video 5 on a Sunday before the stream. Which does, I mean, that's just like, we're snapping them out today. I got a lot of energy. So we will not be taking that. We might as well go to our cursed room before we Forget Me Now. I've still gotta, I gotta do the stream, I gotta do 3 GeoGuessers today as well. So we're gonna have a busy day, but not in a bad way, not in a bad way at all. Just wanna see if maybe we can get some demon hearts. I mean, this run is, to call it set is probably not fair. But considering we are about to get a free floor, in fact, in all likelihood, it'll probably be 2 free floors, because we'll probably go to basement 1. Yep. So it's basically like we get to start this run over, but with the benefit of the items we already got on that last floor. And the money we got on that last floor. Okay, well, this one does present a problem. Fair enough. You know. I was gonna say I should have known, but really, like, that room's just tough to handle. When you've got Maw of the Void charged up, you gotta notice it real quick. So what would I be looking for? Really, like, a Tears upgrade that's permanent instead of Spilled Milk, which is, like, you know, temporary, would probably be top of the list. Our damage is pretty okay. But even without a Tears upgrade... We're pretty much sailing smoothly. I've been trying a new thing where I say common idioms, but I say them like in reversed. Or in reverse, I should say. That was not part of the bit. Because I think it's something that would really irritate people and be very funny to me, while still being innocuous and not, like, mean-spirited. Like, for example, you know what's right twice a day? A broken clock. That's not the expression. That's not how you say it. That's how I said it. You knew what I meant. So I don't really see what the problem is. You know what they say. If you want a good broth, Don't invite too many cooks. So we'll try to keep that in mind as we continue throughout this episode. The one thing I will say, we're not... I know right now, by the way, you're like, he's right. It's irritating. I could have told you that. I just invented it. Pageant Boy is not what we could have gotten the most use out of, but Silver Dollar gives us a reroll machine in every shop. Is that that's its major function? So Nun's Habit is pretty solid, and let's save up for a potential blood bank on the next floor where we could get a lot of money and get some good stuff out of that as well. But this one is like, I mean, really, we're going down to the second floor, like as strong as we are when we normally go to the depths. I'll even use both of my keys to check out this cursed room. Who knows what this thing even is? And the Hanged Man, okay. But yeah, it's been a good day. Dude, I'm being 100% sincere. If we're talking Game of the Year candidates, and I'm like, I can't believe we're only halfway through the year. For a couple of reasons. One is 2020 has been so beset and saturated wall to wall with, let's call it, important news that I am just like every week feels like it's a month long, and yet simultaneously things kind of travel really fast, if that makes sense. Like the year is moving both quickly and slowly, and then to compound that, I've also played like, I don't know, I mean, we're 180-ish days into the year. I've probably played like 180 games around the world in 180. That's not even, it's 80 games. Anyway, 80 days, I should say. Jules Verne, not much of a gamer. I like to think that he would have been if he was alive in our times, though. That's a Justin Bieber reference. Anyway. So, like, when it comes to, like, Game of the Year stuff, I got, like, a lot of candidates. Monster Train is definitely up there. Animal Crossing is definitely up there. One Step from Eden is up there. Possibly not to the same degree as the other two, although it is still extremely great. But I'm telling you, a dark horse, like Tetris 99, although it's not as good as Tetris 99, a dark horse candidate for me is Clubhouse Games. It would not be in the top 5, but I would be very surprised if it didn't make the top 10. Mark my words, you will see, and I make fun of this, but also I am this. You will see Game of the Year lists at the end of this year, and they're going to say this way more about Animal Crossing, but some people will say it about Clubhouse Games. That'll say things like, in a year like this, isn't it nice that we just had a collection of stuff we could sit down and enjoy without having to interface with violence or yada yada? You get the idea. You might as well prepare yourself, it's coming. Just because I can see it coming doesn't mean that not criticism, but that analysis is invalid, by the way. I think that there's an element of that. An element of truth to that, but I always love a minigame collection, and really, like, you might say it's not a minigame collection, but I disagree. I think it's, like, a better minigame collection than WarioWare. Because the games, like, theoretically, and I'm not sure how insincere I'm being here. This might be a little insincere or very sincere. If you were going to drop me on a desert island, I might choose Clubhouse Games as the game that I would take with me. I'm being 100% sincere. For the purposes of this, I'm not interested in getting bogged down with technicalities. I do believe that if you wanted to play an internet-based game, people get really anal about this desert island stuff, you know? If you want to play an internet-based game, oh, so there's satellite internet, why don't I just get my way off the island then? It's not, the purpose is to, it's a thinly veiled thought experiment that's like, if you could only play one game for the rest of your life, what would it be? Clubhouse Games is a strong contender, I think. A lot of the games in there are stinkers, don't get me wrong, but really, between like chess, I don't know how much strategy is actually involved in Gomoku as compared to original Go, but like just chess and Riichi Mahjong alone, even though you'd probably get sick of playing against the AI, come on, man. Those two alone could carry you a long way. They could give you a lot of entertainment and intellectual stimulation. We don't really need Spirit Hearts yet. Particularly with Maw of the Void. Now, best game on a desert island doesn't necessarily mean game of the year. But, you know, if it's like, what game are you going to take to a desert island? I really doubt people are going to be like, hey, you know, The Last of Us 2. Seems like the kind of thing you wouldn't get down with. You know, you'd be like, I've already played this 35 times. I know where it goes. And also, it's kind of a bummer. Head of Krampus does definitely win out here. I'm not getting involved in any Last of Us 2 drama. I don't have a horse in the race. Okay, I'm gonna get involved. Here, and this is from a place of ignorance. So I want to start by almost arguing the opposite of my actual point. I have not played The Last of Us 2. I played like half an hour of The Last of Us 1 when Kate was playing, and then she got a little scared, and she was like, can you beat this part for me? But I've always heard that The Last of Us was it may be considered the best game on PS4, or because it came out on PS3, but they remastered for PS4. But maybe the best game on PS3. And on top of that, I think, dude, how long has this console generation been? Like 100 years? Anyway, I heard amazing things. And I know that there's a lot of reasons that people are annoyed with The Last of Us 2, and some of them, you know, I can understand. Some of them I don't. My problem conceptually with the game, that again, I can't stress enough is coming from a position of ignorance, is that I really don't like when games force you to be violent and then consider it arty that they're like, violence has consequences. You know? As an adult, I know that violence has consequences. I mean, I still hold a grudge. Oh, I think we do want this, maybe. I still hold a grudge to Spec Ops: The Line, which actually has been brought up a lot more recently because of The Last of Us 2 as a better example of how to do it. But, you know, I resented it in The Last of Us, or in Spec Ops: The Line as well, because the game sort of does something where it's like, hey, you, shoot these people. And then after you shoot them, it's like, why would you do that? It's a war crime. And I'm like, I know. All these games are war crimes. You know, you're playing as Michael in Grand Theft Auto 5. I actually think we might want this, believe it or not. You, like, go home to your wife, and you're like, I've got marital problems. And then you get in your car, and you run over, like, 30 people. You know, and I get that, actually, it's a satire. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, I've always, as at least on an adult level, I understand that there are consequences to the violence, but the game kind of forced me to behave violently, and then is like, look at how much of a bad person you are. It just strikes me as very kind of clumsily handled and heavy-handed. And I guess there's like, what I've heard is there's like a scene where you're like playing with a dog as one of the characters, and you know, it's like you bond with the dog, and then later you come back as another character, and you yeet the dog, and you're supposed to feel bad. I'm like, yeah, but you made me do that. You didn't give me the option to be like, I'll just sneak stealthily around. I don't know, maybe you do have the option, but I don't like when games lean on that as kind of like an engine for telling a mature story, just because I think, not because it makes me uncomfortable, it's more because I think it's just kind of cheap. But again, that's me speaking in principle, having not actually played the game in reality. So it's possible that all of these criticisms would fall on deaf ears once I saw the hair rendering technology. But okay, are we really gonna take Book of the Dead now? Are we really gonna swap spacebar items over and over again? I guess so. So that's my thoughts on that. Like, I remember my huge industry divergence with Spec Ops: The Line. There's like, and I'll spoil it for you, the game came out almost 10 years ago. If you want to play it, you can play it. It's mechanically a serviceable third-person shooter that admittedly has a cool kind of narrative layer to it, where they make you question what's actually happening, and whether or not, you know, who's responsible for it, I guess. you, the player, or, you know, the designer, or the person giving you the mission, or what. But there's a scene where they're like, hey, there's some bad guys out there. I don't think we want that. There's some bad guys out there, commit a war crime against them, and then you commit the war crime against them, and they go, oops, that was just innocent people, but you liked it, didn't you? And I'm like, no, but the only way to progress to get to the rest of the game is for me to do it. If I don't do it, you just sit there and go, what are you waiting for? Hit him! You know? I don't know if you can get through that part by not doing it, but I understand it, like, on a conceptual level, I think it's interesting. On an execution level, to me, a lot of Spec Ops: The Line, and this is maybe a bad take, but it felt like a pretty unremarkable third-person shooter that had a writer come in and was like, well, I can't do anything about the actual game itself, but here's what I can do. I can put, like, a little interesting sort of concept into it, which is better than nothing, for sure. But it didn't really do it for me, quite frankly. Oh, thank you. This is a fan delivery service of the airflow variety. Just to be clear, it's not like a human sacrifice. Hey, it feels nice.
Are you getting it?
I'm getting it.
Are you getting it?
I'm getting it. Yeah. I'm getting it. Still getting it.
I'm trying to make it better, but I don't know if I'm making better.
No, it's good. Alrighty. Kate, can I tell you something? So we're doing Clubhouse games as our Golden Goblet. Day 1, chess, easy win. Day 2, checkers, easy win. Day 3, Ludo, easy win. Yeah. Chad, you're not gonna like this one, but we're going Guppy's head, okay? I think we need some more offensive oomph. You know what I mean? I agree with you, hypothetical Chad. I don't think she's recognizing the difficulty and unlikelihood of winning a Ludo game. She says she understands. I mean, she'd been watching some Clubhouse games. She's played it herself as well. She's mentioning to me now. Two people also rage quit that game, though. Which was actually great, because one of them was taking forever with their turns. I mean, literally, it's a game where all you do is press the A button. And you get 20 seconds a turn. They were taking all 20 seconds. And I was like, come on. I don't know if I've ever swapped spacebar items more than this, but here we are. Every time we get a spacebar item, I'm like, you know, that part where Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite is selling Tupperware. And he gets the wife to go, I want that. I want that. What is it? Bob, you look like a strong young pup. See if you can rip this. He tries to... Okay, I'm not just gonna... Look, I'm slipping back into high school mode where the funniest person you could be is somebody who remembers all of the quotes from Napoleon Dynamite, Anchorman, Dodgeball, and Zoolander. I can derelict my own balls. It really was the mark of great humor back then. That's why the joke from This Is the End, where Jonah Hill goes, like, your references are off the chain, everybody's always talking about how good your references are, is such a backhanded compliment. And yet also simultaneously quite funny. Anyway, what are we talking about? I don't know. I'm kind of like adrift in the sea of this run being goodness. You never use that expression? Hey, cut me some slack. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 p.m. And it's my 5th video of the day. The brain glycogen's getting a little bit on the low side. And also, again, on a personal level, not that much going on. Not a whole heck of a lot going on. I do appreciate the tiers upgrade. I think we gotta go heavy on both of these here. I guess, like, Maw of the Void doesn't scale with our with our rate of fire? Is that true? I'm Ron Burgundy? Yo, dude, you sound like Ron Burgundy. Yo, I love that movie. Brick threw a trident at a guy. That really got out of hand. Anyway, you get the idea. You get the idea. Watched a little bit of that new Will Ferrell Eurovision song movie. I think that is an easy, breezy, beautiful 5 out of 10. I think it's a highly watchable movie that the whole time you're watching it, you're gonna be like, it's not that good, but I don't really want to turn it off. That's my review. It would have been absolutely destroyed in theaters. It would have made like $8 at the box office. This is the right platform for it, without a doubt. I don't know how much it costs to make the movie. There we go. This is the only thing we were even looking for here was some kind of card. Is there a tinted rock? No. It's not the card we want, but it's the card we got. I would... No, maybe it doesn't matter. I was gonna say, like, give me one more penny, but whatever, dude. We're on Depths 1. No surprise we're not gonna make the boss rush, but we also, like, don't really care about making the boss rush. It's a good amount of money. I think we have an obligation to try to find out what this card is. Because if it's the Sun, or the Emperor, or the Hierophant, like, it's all over. Even the Stars is pretty good. But well, no, I think this is good. It's good stuff. Take me down here. Give me a stars card. Take me down here and then give me a stars card. I'm glad when the runs are not that hard, so thank you, Edmund. That's Uncle Cracker. In case you're interested in getting into some hardcore gangster rap, just search for a rapper by the name of Uncle Cracker, and you'll I gotta warn you, there's some mature themes, okay? Like in his first single, he goes, "Follow me, everything is alright. I'll be the one to tuck you in at night." Like, if you're not comfortable with the idea that Uncle Cracker is gonna comfort you as you go to sleep, then I would advise you to stay away. Because honestly, there's some mature content. That's a joke. Always, you guys ever think Kid Rock, the existence of Kid Rock is funny? Can I explain why before you get mad? Kid Rock has created a brand for himself as kind of a, you know, he's an edgy dude, right? He's a dude, I don't play by the rules. You can only, this is a speed limit's 50, guess what, copper? I'm doing 52. You can't stop me. But then also, simultaneously, like, how can you, like, think that about yourself and then also have your biggest song ever be Picture, a duet with Sheryl Crow? like Sheryl Crow. You know, like, I'm just gonna repeat it for a third time for emphasis. Sheryl Crow. Sheryl! I'm not claiming Sheryl Crow doesn't have a certain edge to her. But the edge is very, very small. Like, smaller than a butter knife. I would say that it is like one of those butter knives they give you in the coach section of the airplane. In first class, they will give you a metal knife, because they're like, this person's got something to lose. They're not gonna try anything with the butter knife. They're not gonna try to, like, you know, stab their seatmate, because they've got a reasonable amount of space between one another, because we're treating them like human beings up here. In coach, they give you, like, a little plastic dongle that is useless, and then the butter is, like, straight out of the airplane freezer. It's like they just had it dangling outside of the plane at cruising altitude, so you basically just have, like, 2 bites that are 1% bread. like 99% butter. Sorry, that math took me an embarrassingly long time to do. And then many bites that are just bread, but that's okay. I mean, I like bread with no butter as well, as long as the bread's good. You don't need butter for bread. I think that's a misstep. So let's do that. 44 bombs should be enough. The Hierophant is really just what you want, and maybe having a teleport card as well can help us out here. It's a good reason to have gone to these rooms, dude. But like, I'm trying to think of like where does Sheryl Crow's perceived edginess for me come from? Well, she was kind of like a lady who sings rock and roll, which at least in the mid-90s, it's not like she was the first, but it was like, oh, a lady who sings rock and roll with a blues influence? That's a little bit, you know, I haven't seen that every day. So I think that some of it comes from there. But then, like, I'm gonna soak up the sun. Not a very edgy song. You know, all I wanna do is have some fun. Like, anytime the chorus of your song could very easily be printed and framed and then sold in like a Target, you know that there's not that much edge. All I'm gonna say, there's not that many Ice Cube lyrics that are sold in Target. Maybe check yourself before you wreck yourself. You might be able to find that on a shirt. But even then, they would probably put it on a shirt for like a little kid. So it's like, my grandma says, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And because it's on a child's piece of attire, people would be like, that's funny. It's been a long time since I told this story. When I taught in Korea, occasionally students would wear clothes with English words on them. And one day, I was teaching a class, and I remember that her name was Pinky, which is to say, her English name was Pinky. She had like a real Korean name that we were not allowed to use for reasons that I still don't really understand. And it wasn't just her, I should say. But if anybody's taught English overseas, I'm interested to know if you had the same situation. I believe it's kind of universal. But, you know, if I went to a Korean class, I believe that they would be like, you know, your name's Ryan. I don't think they would be like, you know, oh, for the rest of the... When you're outside of the class, you're Ryan, but when you're in the class, you're Jimin, you know? But for whatever reason, and it was kind of uncomfortable with it the whole time, when you got a class of, like, kindergartners, day one, you go like, okay, it says here your name is So-Yun, but for the rest of your English life, you're gonna be, Sarah. And you just, like, determine the name that they're gonna be called in English when these kids who are 10 times smarter than me eventually go study in American universities. They're gonna be called that forever. Anyway, but I remembered Pinky had worn a sweater, and I went, Pinky, can you come over here for a second? She came over, and then I got a closer look at her sweater, and it wasn't like on the front, it was like the banding at the bottom was like a border of text that just said, it's effing freezing, over and over. But it wasn't, you know, effing. It was the word. I think we'll stick with the Hierophant. Anyway. I forgot how I got onto this subject, but that was in a job I really hated. I remember that day well because I laughed once. There were days at that job where I didn't laugh at all. Sorry, I slipped into a flashback there momentarily. Anyway, what do you got for me in here? Nothing at all. That's great news. At this point, we could teleport, but I actually feel like we just don't use the blank card ability. We just use the card to teleport, because the all stats upgrade is really nice as well. So that's pretty much what I got going on in my life right now. Playing a lot of Clubhouse games. I'm telling you, like, I'm not gonna regale you with stories of Riichi Mahjong. All I'm gonna tell you is I've been playing it. It's a nice game, dude. It's got a longer learning curve than any card game I've ever learned in my entire life, but it's I mean, I can't say whether it'd be worth it for everybody, but it's been a lot of fun. For me, it was like, I wouldn't have gotten into it at all if it weren't for the fact that Kay was into it, but now that Kay's into it, I was like, okay, A, I can ask her questions about it, and B, you know, it's something that we can kind of do together, or at least, like, you know, at the same time, because we're at different skill brackets, but, not a good move there to walk into that, but we did get a Demon Heart regardless. But yeah, it's a good game. If you got the time. You might, I hope you didn't take offense to that. I know there's a lot of poker players out there. If you're like, poker takes longer to learn. No, it doesn't. Full stop. I mean, it might take longer to master. I honestly am not enough of a master in either game to say with authority whether that's correct or incorrect. But to learn the rules and hands of poker is not as difficult. Just, I mean, I hate using this as an argument, but it's just not. Like in poker, everything, and this is going to be an extended Mahjong bit, which I never would have expected for 2020, but here we are. In poker, literally every hand is some combination of pair, triplet, quad, or 5 numbers in a row, or all numbers of the same suit. That's all you got, right? I can't think. There are combinations of those, like a royal flush is a straight of, you know, Jack, Queen, King, Ace, or 10 Jack, Queen, King, Ace, in the same suit. And then, like, a straight flush is a straight and a flush simultaneously, but there is nothing that's like, you know, 14 orphans. Every straight has, well, this is not 14 orphans or 12 orphans or whatever the heck it's called, but, you know, every straight has a 1 or a 9 in it. You know, that's called a terminal straight, and it's worth slightly more. So the base, from a basic rules perspective, it's a lot harder. But you can also play it while learning, rather than like in poker, you would be like, well, I'm a dummy. I just, like, you know, discarded my, well, I guess you don't discard in poker, but I just folded my flush because I was looking for a straight. Anyway, it's not a bad take. It's just a take that's kind of nonsense, I guess. They're both good games. I don't like poker that much because I find that, well, I like Texas Hold'em in the sense that, like, it's a game that you can play where pretty much everybody knows the rules. But I really did, like, OD on Texas Hold'em. Back in, like, the mid-2000s when literally everybody was all about, like, yeah, I don't know, I think I might go pro, or at least start playing some cash games. You couldn't just play poker with your family anymore. You always had, like, an uncle who, like, plays 7 hands simultaneously on Poker Stars and is talking to, like, your 10-year-old cousin is like, well, I knew that, you know, you squirm in your seat when you're bluffing, so that's why I slow played you and forced you all in. You know, and you're like, thanks, uncle, I really appreciate that. I thought we were all having fun here. I didn't realize it's an opportunity for you to flex your poker muscle, which we'll probably work on the phrasing of, but that's neither here nor there. Let's move on here. Really was a time where everybody was like a poker pro, or wanted to be. I'll also say, like, I remember, I think it was in my first year summer vacation from university, I went to Walmart and bought a Daniel Negreanu poker game for the Xbox 360. And that's how powerful the poker bug was back then. You're like, yeah, I mean, I could play it for free on a superior interface, but I could also play it on the Xbox. How about that? And I would suggest that was probably not the ideal way to experience a game of skill like that, but still, I probably played it for like 20 or 30 hours. All right, this is a run that was pretty much ordained to win from the get-go. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. That's 8 wins in a row, and I'll see you next time. See ya!